Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Rob Cray here with another Geeksation Live Podcast. And of course, I have my usual cohorts here, Andrew Lebo.
Yo.
And Dakota Smith.
Oh,
So I want to apologize for yesterday. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues. We were going to go live last night at 8 o'clock, and I'm sure some of you were planning to tune in. Unfortunately, due to my user error and a weird glitch in Google Hangouts, unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. So I apologize for that. But tonight we're talking Nintendo. Specifically, the Nintendo Switch just came out about a month and a half ago, maybe a month ago. And, I kind of want to get a feel for, how you guys feel about, first off the Switch. I don't think either one of you own a Switch, right?
nope.
No.
Negative.
What's the last Nintendo console you owned?
I still have a Wii.
Okay, you still have a Wii?
Wii. And we still play it.
Yeah. Dakota, I know you said you had 3DS.
Yeah, GameCube would be the actual console
Yeah.
if you want to count that. But yeah, 3DS.
Yeah, I actually have the Switch. So, and I know, not many of my friends have one. So I'm kind of, the tester here. But I honestly really like it a lot. So far, the only real disappointment is the fact that it doesn't seem that, it doesn't have a good library of games. It was released with like 4 or 5 games, which is really disappointing. But of course, it did launch with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which in my opinion, and I haven't finished it yet, but in my opinion is quite possibly the greatest time, if not, definitely in my top 5 for sure. Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's a really great console. I'm obviously a huge Nintendo fan myself. I've had every Nintendo console that's ever existed, I think. And I kind of, admittedly got out of Nintendo for a few years there, but, the Wii U of all systems actually kind of brought me back into the fold with Nintendo. And, of course, that didn't really sell too well. But I don't know. How do you guys feel, things are going with Nintendo these days? It seems like, they're making some really weird decisions, like canceling the highly successful NES Classic Edition. And then, of course, releasing this console at the beginning of a year with very few launch titles. And I don't know. What do you guys think?
Dakota.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dakota.
Well, I could start on this one. Well, I don't know. It's really irritating to see what they're doing when it comes to like the underpowered consoles and trying to compete, because I really want them to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I'm afraid they're gonna like end up going the way of Sega if they keep losing money. Because
sorry, go ahead.
No question.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So what you're saying is that Nintendo is you're accusing Nintendo of releasing underpowered consoles, and that.
Oh, I'm not accusing them. I'm pretty much fact.
Yeah.
We know what they are. It's disappointing to see, like, from the GameCube standpoint or the handheld. Like, the handheld market they own.
Yeah.
And they do that well. And I don't think anything could really compete with that. I mean, the Vita tried.
Yeah.
And it kind of flopped.
Yeah.
Which is strange to me why they made a console that's so heavy on being handheld console.
Well, it's because that's what they do good.
You're talking about the Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're competing with your own...
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. That's kind of odd. The 3DS is doing very well still. But at this point, I can't remember what year the 3DS came out. It was either 2011 or 2012, correct?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could search it, but
basically, when it first came out, it was a flop. Like, it wasn't selling well, and it looked like it was going to be a huge failure for Nintendo. And of course, all it took was a price drop, and then took a while for some really good games to come out. And now it has like a fantastic library of games. And last holiday season, I remember I couldn't even find a 3DS on the shelf, at all. They were completely sold out last holiday season. Not just the like special $99 ones that they released for Black Friday. I'm talking like the full full-fledged like 199 model was sold out everywhere, even after Christmas for, at least a month. So obviously it's selling really well. And Nintendo is, from what I read today, that Nintendo at E3 is going to be, have a much bigger presence this year with their than they have in the past couple of years. And I guess, obviously the 3DS is going to be a big part of that.
Really? I thought I read something that they weren't even going to really be on stage.
Well, they're probably not going to be on stage. Like, they like to do their own kind of thing. I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, but I had read that they were going to have a bigger presence this year than they have in the past few years. But, Nintendo likes to do their own kind of thing. So I'm sure that they're going to mostly focus on, doing like a live stream event and stuff like that and talk directly to gamers.
I mean, it would be sad if they didn't go up on stage and release like the upcoming launch titles or launch titles of upcoming games, because I mean, we saw a little bit of it, but I kind of want to see a little bit more of the new Mario game. I kind of want to see whether they're going to do a new Smash. Of course they probably will, but it'd be stupid of them not to. But
I think back to Lebo's thought on kind of the Switch being, it is a handheld console. It's also a console, and for anyone, I mean, obviously anyone who's listening to this knows what the Switch is, but I'll tell you this, it's a really amazing, it's really amazing when you put it in your hands for the first time and, you undock the thing and you have a full like console experience on the go, right? Like, I think I told this story to you before, Goo, but or Dakota, sorry. I knew that's gonna come out. Yeah. But when the Wii U came out, like I don't know anyone else, like on my friends, maybe one friend of mine that I know that had a Wii U. Like, I mean, the system did not sell well. Like, I don't know anyone who really owned one. I was like the only one who owned one, and people, would come by my place to play it. So I really liked it, though. I thought it was a really great console. And, this is kind of going into maybe some of what you were talking about, Dakota. But, the issue obviously was that I feel like the Wii U was a failure, because it had a horrible name. Like, I remember people asking me what exactly it was because they were confused. They thought maybe it was like some kind of like new version of the Wii or something, or, like an add-on. But so there was a lot of market confusion. And then Nintendo did not promote that console whatsoever. There was no like media campaign or anything, no TV commercials when it launched. So it basically, was dead on the water when it released. And then, of course, because of that, because it wasn't selling and because it was underpowered compared to its competitors, it wasn't able to get, the big third-party titles like Call of Duty and all that stuff, which seems to be like a continuing trend with Nintendo. But overall, I thought it was, a fantastic console. And, the dock, which is like this big, bulky, like tablet controller, when I first saw the system, I thought, oh, cool, you can take this thing, detach it, and play games on the go, right? But that wasn't the case. You had to be like within range of the wireless. But with the Switch, I feel like the Switch is the true evolution of all those ideas with the Wii U. And now you actually have that. You have this like console that you can take with you. I mean, the problem is obviously battery life, but I mean, you can take the full-fledged Mario Kart that just came out today, hop on the bus, and play the thing wherever you go. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I saw the commercial.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how disappointed in that commercial I was.
Uh-huh.
The very first commercial for the Switch, everybody was really excited. Ooh, Nintendo's got this new console. Ooh, it's like a handheld thing. Ooh, let's see what the commercial is. Then they come out with this commercial. And this guy's playing Zelda. And his freaking dog is sitting there with the ball in his mouth going, "Don't play with me, don't play with me, don't play with me, don't play with me." And he's playing Zelda. So the guy gets up, walks to the console, undocks it, and he starts playing Zelda again. And the dog's like, "Play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me." And I'm like, dude, play with your freaking dog. What the hell is wrong with you? Take the ball out of its mouth and throw the damn thing.
It's like animal cruelty or something.
Yeah. And then they like, oh my God, they go to this park and they're all playing basketball. They're having a good time. They're all shooting some hoops and everything. And then some jackass comes out with his Wii or his Switch there. And he goes, "Hey guys, let's play NBA 2K16 on my Switch." I'm like, you guys are playing basketball.
Yeah.
Right there. I'm like, what? This is the most anti-social freaking device I've ever seen in my entire. This is the end of Western civilization.
You know, I honestly feel the opposite. I think that this is the most social device that's come out in ages. Because think about it, you have like PS4 and Xbox One, and you know the console gaming experience for I mean, as long as we've known, has always been one of, you know, sit at home in front of the TV. You know, yeah, maybe you could play some local multiplayer with your friends or, you know, jump online. But still, you know, for the most part, you're not interacting much with actual people. But with the Switch, because it's so portable, I mean, you can take this thing anywhere, you know, like in the commercial, to the park, and then have some buddies there, and you could all play there at the park or at school or wherever, you know. So I think in that
supposed to be enjoying the park when you're at the park.
Well, you know, but still,
that's like, hey, I'm going to take the Switch to the Grand Canyon and look at pictures of the Grand Canyon on my Switch. You're there.
Maybe they could have made a better commercial, but I just mean that, you know, the Switch itself, though, I think is pretty revolutionary as far as being, you know, a console that hopefully, like, you know, on the subject of local multiplayer, that used to be a big thing, like during the, you know, PlayStation 1 and like, you know, N64 era, that, you know, your buddies would gather around, you'd play, you know, split screen multiplayer, and it was fun, you know, and I feel like that's kind of died because of, you know, the emergence of like online gaming. But I feel like the Switch, you know, obviously I don't think it's going to become like as prevalent as it was in the 90s, but I think we might see a little bit of a resurgence of, you know, bringing this thing to your buddy's house, they're having a party or whatever, and yeah, everybody gets all excited to play some Mario Kart or whatever. So I think, you know, in that regard, it's a good thing.
Poor dog.
Yeah, poor doggo.
Poor Fido.
Dog's probably outside right now wanting in.
Bark.
Bark.
That's the story of my dog earlier, I swear. Like I've been waiting all day for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to show up, and it finally showed up at 5:30 this evening. And so the UPS guy pulls up, and of course my dog barks because the UPS guy is here. And you know, I immediately popped that thing in and started, you know, played a couple of different cups. And oh man, it's so much fun. I didn't want to pull myself away. I was like, oh yeah, I got to do a podcast. But
I'll expect that unboxing or review video to be up soon.
Yeah, I will be doing that. Hopefully tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. See, my opinion on the whole thing is I kind of like it. I like the idea of it, but you know, I don't really like, even when I have the 3DS, when I'm going places, or like when I took it to PAX, when I went to PAX 2 years ago, and I didn't even play it then, and that's a gaming event.
Yeah.
So PAX South, they have all this stuff, and I'd rather socialize with people than.
Well, yeah, especially if you're at PAX, man. You're not going there to game, man. You're going to
even hanging out with friends who have stuff. I don't know if that's what I would do. Maybe take it for downtime, but not to. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I can see myself doing that, especially I think, you know, with my generation. Obviously, I mean, I feel like our generation, you know, we actually grew up with that stuff. Maybe like the younger kids won't do that, but like with our generation, like I know for sure, like if a buddy of mine was having a party or something, and I you know, pulled out the Switch and was like, hey man, I got Mario Kart, I guarantee you that people would want to play.
I mean, so if they put Mario Party on there, it's a quick way to travel, remove friends from your life.
Well, and it's such a small console that it's highly portable. Like, you know, I mean, it's not something that like it's kind of bulky in the fact that it's not like, you know, it's not like handhelds of the past, which are made to like fit in your back pocket. Like it's kind of long, right? It's overly long to like fit comfortably in your pocket. So you definitely have to. So you definitely have to have a case for it, you know, that kind of thing. But
it's not.
But what I mean, it's still small enough that you can easily like take it with you and pull it out and get a Mario Kart party going anywhere.
I mean, it's not terrible considering the size of phones these days. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I would say the screen on it's bigger, maybe a little bit bigger Then definitely bigger than the iPhone 6 Plus. So it's definitely a big, beautiful, high resolution screen. Like I was really impressed. Like when I first opened it, I expected it to be kind of cheap. But no, it's great.
If you call 720p high resolution, whatever.
Well, compared to everything else we've had, you know what I mean? Like, if you were to see it, you'd be like, wow, this is beautiful, you know? But yeah, it's not full 1080p, which is, you know, unfortunate, but you know, I'm sure Nintendo had a price in mind that they had to reach. But you know, I will say this: the one thing that I find the one biggest disappointment with the Switch is you know, like I mentioned, that they released it in March, on March 3rd, which is like beginning of the year, which is kind of odd because usually they release consoles in the holiday season, right? Like October, November, usually in November. I mean, it makes sense because then, you know, everyone's looking for that hot, you know, gift, and it's going to be a new console, right? So I feel like it was a missed opportunity for Nintendo. Like, I feel like they released it too early. They should have either released it, you know, or maybe too late. They should have either released it last holiday season, or they should have waited until this holiday season. And I would actually go with this holiday season just because obviously, you know, there weren't enough launch titles. There was, you know, other than Zelda, it was like 1-2 Switch. They had a Bomberman game, and I can't even remember what the other ones were. But you know, that's how crappy the launch titles were. The only one I was interested in was Zelda, and then here it is, you know, a month, almost 2 months later, you know, on April 28th, and it came out March 3rd, and we're finally getting like a new title for it, which is Mario Kart 8. But the issue is then that Mario Kart 8 is a port of a Wii U game, right? And technically Zelda Breath of the Wild is also a port of a Wii U game. So all the good games that are out for the Switch at this point are ports of Wii U games. Lego City came out like a couple weeks ago at $60, right? And it was I believe, I might be wrong about this, but I think it was a Wii U launch title. And if not a launch title, it came out pretty early in the life cycle of the Wii U. And they charged $60 for this game. So I am disappointed that the launch, you know, so far there's not much to play on my Switch. And I feel like if Nintendo had waited till the holiday season, then they would have had, you know, a lot more titles under their belt, and they could have released the console at a prime time, you know, to sell, and then also to obviously have a bigger library of games.
But I don't know. That's the thing. Okay, they've been screwing up with these things for a while, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's.
But aren't they all still sold out?
Yeah, it's selling well.
Can you find a Switch anywhere?
Yeah, I was reading today that the Switch sold 2.75 million units consoles in the first month, which for Nintendo is the fastest selling Nintendo console in the history of Nintendo.
And it's in March.
And it was in March. So it
they
definitely
don't care.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't care.
Well, it's selling well, and that's but I just mean like
they're going to have another huge spike in December.
Yeah. Well, I guess you know,
guess there's 2 huge spikes instead of 1 huge spike.
Yeah. Well, I guess I kind of see. I guess, you know, you're right. Like that gives them time to kind of build a bigger base before the holidays, and then there's not hopefully going to be that insane mad rush and shortage of console. I'm sure there's going to be still a shortage of consoles come the holidays, but not as bad. And there's going to be an install base of obviously millions of people by that point. So I guess they do have that going for them. But, you know, the big one that's coming out this holiday season is the new Mario Odyssey. And I guarantee you, like, I'm willing right now to bet $100 to both of you that Nintendo delays that game. I guarantee you that game is not coming out. Yeah, it is not coming out this holiday season. Mark my words. I just have the feeling in my gut that game's going to get delayed.
No, they're going to delay that because the Scorpio comes out in November.
Oh, does Scorpio come out?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they're not really competing. That's, you know, I think that's kind of what Dakota was about to say before, you know, we kind of got off subject there, but that Nintendo keeps making the same mistake, right? Of releasing these underpowered consoles. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much like, but at the same time, it's kind of smart on their behalf because I'm indifferent on it though, because here you have them releasing these underpowered consoles, but they're not really even trying to compete. But then you can tell that they're not trying to compete.
Yeah.
But they're going to their own niche, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. It started with, I think it started with the Wii, because up until, the NES, when it came out, I mean, it was like, a direct like rival to the Sega at the time. And Atari, which was still a thing at that point in 1985. The Super Nintendo obviously was competing with Sega. The Nintendo 64 was competing with the
Dreamcast.
no, it was actually competing with the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn.
Oh, the Saturn.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I guess what I'm saying is at that point, Nintendo was still producing consoles that were similarly powered to the competition. Even up until the GameCube. The GameCube, if I remember correctly, was actually more powerful technically than the PS2, right?
Yeah, there were some games on there that looked way better.
It was
than the
beautiful.
PS2. And I think it had better. I think technically it was more powerful, but you didn't. No one ever really talked about that.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, it was like nominally more powerful. It wasn't
you could compare Resident Evil 4, for example, on the GameCube versus the PS2 version, and the GameCube version looks better.
Far better, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, like some of the GameCube games still just hold up so well. Like, the Resident Evil remakes and stuff were fantastic. But that was the last console that they really tried to, keep up the competition. And that was the last console that really had that kind of, like third-party support, cross-platform, as far as like the big titles that came out for like, PlayStation 2 and Xbox, the original Xbox, the OG Xbox. They still had those big titles, right? But then by the time the PS3 came out, that generation, then you had the Xbox 360. Essentially, the Wii was like a GameCube with motion controls. It wasn't much more powerful than the GameCube was, right? So they released this console that had this gimmick with the motion controls. Of course, it sold crazy good, right? But they lost the hardcore like gamers with that console, because they weren't. Yeah, I hated that console too. I'm not a fan at all. It was cool, I mean, I feel like it was cool as far as it was neat because it brought a lot of like, new gamers into the fold, people, who weren't like hardcore gamers.
Like example, Grandpa played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We would go to my grandpa's house and like the whole family, like people who weren't even into games would play, Wii Sports. So
that was Nintendo's niche at the time, though. And it's still technically their market.
Yeah.
Their market is not the hardcore gamers.
The casuals, yeah.
They could give a flying crap less, because you know how many hardcore gamers there are as opposed to casual gamers.
Yeah, but the problem that I think Nintendo's facing now in courting the casual gamers is that the casual gamers have all moved on to tablets and phones.
Yeah, that's where they messed up. But see, that's why they made a Switch.
Yeah. Well, but the problem is still though that like, yeah, the Switch is cool, but I don't think it's going to really appeal to the casual gamers anymore because, honestly, the Switch is only going to, I think, appeal to diehard Nintendo fans.
But you sit there and say that like the phones and tablets, but they're making games for iOS now, like Fire Emblem and Super Mario Run.
Yeah.
So they had
they're not full-fledged like gaming experiences though. Like
Fire Emblem on the iOS or the Android is just as good as it is on the 3DS.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm not too knowledgeable on the mobile game. I hate mobile games. But I don't keep up with that. I mean, I played Mario. The only mobile game I've ever played was Angry Birds and Mario Run. So
I thought you'd be a Flappy Bird kind of guy.
Oh yeah, well I did play Flappy Bird too.
Hey, Goat Simulator is now a mobile game.
You can play Knights of the Old Republic on your iPhone now.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
So
I don't care about, I don't care if they came out with a phone that's super powerful that, could have like current gen graphics. Like, I just don't like playing on a little phone, and I don't like, the touch screen. I want to sit on my couch and play console games. Like, okay, my Switch, for example, this thing has like left the dock. I've had it, since maybe the week after it released, and I've had it off the dock maybe twice. I always keep it docked because I like to play it on my 1080p, play it in full 1080p on my TV with surround sound. I'm the console gamer. So
I personally think what they could have done is sold the docking capability as a separate thing and just sold it as a home console first, and then cut the price on it a little bit. That's what they should have done. Because I don't think a lot of people want to.
I don't follow. Repeat that.
I said they should have just made it to where it's a permanently docked console, and then you could maybe pay something, get an extra attachment that you can leave with it. Because I don't see, because they should have pushed more power into the console itself.
Yeah, well, that's
focusing on trying to make a console that's underpowered so it'll be able to be taken on the go. Is pretty much what I'm getting at there.
Yeah. Well, I think what Nintendo's logic is that obviously they have this stranglehold on the handheld market, and their console division isn't doing too well. So let's try to combine the two. And
I don't know why they didn't just make a console that would connect with your 3DS, so then you brain both those things together rather than make a Switch, which is, like Andrew's saying, competing with your 2DS, 3DS market.
Because we're technically at the end of that generation. Like the 2DS is on its way out at this point. There needs, I'm assuming that now the Switch is going to be the successor to the 3DS, right? And so, because it's been out for 5 or 6 years at this point, so it's it's definitely on its death legs, and it's very under the 3DS at this point is old tech, so there's not a whole lot they can do with it at this point. So when it makes sense to invest a bunch of money into keeping the 3DS going, but it does make sense to keep to have a new console, and so they haven't officially said that the Switch is the successor to the 3DS, but I kind of feel like it is. I feel like it's at this point they've merged their consoles and their handhelds into one thing, and that here going forward is going to be how it is.
That makes me wonder, have they confirmed the Nintendo what's it called, the market? Is it the market or wherever you buy the old games off of, the arcade? I don't know what it's called exactly.
What about it now?
Have they confirmed that to be on the Switch? Is it on the Switch? Oh
yeah, it is on the Switch. It's going to be on the Switch. It's just wasn't available at launch. And
so
that was kind of. Go ahead.
That was a lot of the money that they would make off of the 3DS in general is because of that. So maybe
virtual console.
Maybe you're on. There you go, virtual console. Maybe you're actually onto something there with it being the successor to the.
Yeah, well, think of that's like a different subject, but that's definitely. Like I was thinking about that myself. That right there could be the biggest selling point for the Switch. Is think about this: the NES Classic is dead,
and why? That's
because
virtual console coming up.
Exactly. They make so much more money on the virtual console than they do selling, because 30 games for $60, that's a steal, right? The virtual console games, I can't remember the exact pricing, but I want to say NES games are around $5 or $6, and then SNES are like $8 or $9, right? And think about it, the Switch is powerful enough. Like I remember reading a while back that for the first time with the Nintendo Switch, the virtual console is going to have GameCube games available. So you're not only going to be able to on the virtual console have NES, Super NES, N64, but GameCube.
So I can take Wind Waker on the go.
Take it with you anywhere and play it on the go. I mean, it's going to be amazing, right? And
how much memory you need for one of those games, though?
It comes with, they don't take up a lot of space, honestly. The old NES and the SNES games only take up like a couple of megabytes. Like
no, I'm talking about the GameCube games.
Still
probably
not much.
A gig at most.
Yeah, I mean, because think about
more than maybe 1 or 2 gigs.
But it's only got 38 gigs?
No, but this is the thing. It's upgradable up to like 2 terabytes. Once again, I can't say for sure that number is correct, but I remember hearing somewhere that it was around 2 terabytes. Basically, it uses like mini SD cards or whatever.
Good luck buying that. That's gonna be expensive.
A mini SD terabyte card is like $600, man.
No, it's not, dude. The prices are coming down big time. You can get maybe it is, maybe a terabyte is at this point. But what I'm saying is, you can get, like, just the other day they had a 128 gigabyte card for $30.
A 2 terabyte mini disc is $96 at Walmart.
Do you know what I'm saying though? Is do you know how many games? Okay, for $30 you can go buy a 128 gigabyte card. Do you know how many games you can fit on that? You could fit a buttload of games on that.
Not very many if it's an Xbox.
I'm a PC gamer, so I know how many games I can play.
But we're talking though, like virtual console games. So like, yeah, I mean, so you could fit the entire library of NES and SNES and probably N64 on one of those and still have tons of room.
I don't know if it's okay to necessarily sit there and admit this, but I do a lot of emulation, so so I know.
Arg.
I'm not a like, I stopped buying games on discs. I don't know how long ago.
Yeah,
a couple years ago.
Oh man, you're one of those
all
guys.
I do is download my stuff now.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the virtual console.
I hate you, Lebo. I lost respect for you, man.
Should have got an Xbox.
You're killing the physical. You're killing the physical copies, man.
I didn't kill nothing. Still the same price.
That's actually even cheaper sometimes too to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. That's nuts. That's a topic for another day, though.
Yeah,
I have over 160 games in my Xbox library. 80 of them aren't even on the console. They're yet to be. They're in my queue.
Listen here, Xbox fanboy. We're talking about Nintendo.
But listen. I mean, I could download those at any time and exchange it for one of the other games that I have already downloaded.
But see, this is the thing you got to think about too. Is that like, and this kind of veers into another subject on this topic, but you know, the Nintendo Switch doesn't have to have, like, it's not going to eat up that the games aren't as intensive as, you know, Xbox One or PS4 games, right? And I don't know if you guys have seen the cards that these the games come on, but these things are tiny. Like they come with these cases that are smaller than PS4 cases, but the card that's on the inside, which is, you know, like where the cartridge the game's on, is tiny, man.
It's about the same size of a 3DS game.
It's about the size of an SDH.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, it's really small. I mean, you could easily lose these things. Like, kids could probably swallow them.
Well, that's why they made them taste like crap.
Yeah, they made them taste like crap. Yeah, yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this?
I have no idea.
I was going somewhere with that, and I totally lost my train of thought. But
we were talking about games being downloaded, basically.
Yeah, I don't know.
To the virtual.
But yeah, well, so the virtual console, like, I really think that this could be the hugest selling point for Nintendo and the Switch. Is that, just imagine these diehard Nintendo fans. I mean, I could go anywhere and play Super Mario World, or go anywhere and play Mario 3 and, like, you know, all these great games from the past. Now, the problem is that Nintendo is very slow, like, in the past few years, especially like on the Wii U, about getting like these classic games put on the virtual console. Like, it can't be that hard. They need to just, you know, pump these things out and, you know, get all the classics on there so that people, because that right there, like, even if they didn't have any good new games coming out, you know, which I have a feeling Nintendo, like with the Wii U, I mean, this is the problem. I would wait like 6 months to a year before a good game would come out, right? Because, you know, there's no third-party support, and you're waiting for like Nintendo first-party stuff. So as a stopgap in between this, if they would get this virtual console going and start cranking out some classics, dude, I'd be playing that all day long. So yeah, I think it could be a huge selling point. And I think, you know, once they get that virtual console going, which was another disappointing thing about launching so early, that like there was so much stuff that wasn't available at the time of launch, like virtual console, like, you know, a lot of apps and stuff that are, you know, pretty much standard now on most consoles.
I mean, yeah.
Including YouTube, Netflix, all that.
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, I kind of want to diverge a little bit back into NES Classic a little bit, and then the SNES Classic that they're releasing, to kind of bring the subject back to, or a little bit off of the Switch. But yeah, the NES Classic basically, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you get like those 30 games, and what was it, 30 games, or was it more than 30? I think it's 30.
Yeah,
30 games. So it's basically the same concept there, except you can take it with you with the Switch. I mean, it's like the SNES Classic, but
so you're
I can sit there in the back of
why they killed it.
Yeah, well, there's many reasons why they killed that. I know. I did a lot of research on that one. I mean, I think the NES Classic was just a marketing tool, because if you look at the time it came out and then the time they killed it, they killed it right after the Switch is already being successful. Mm-hmm. So they really don't want to compete with that anymore. But they brought it out when they didn't have anything to show during holiday season.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they didn't have a Switch to release, but they're like, hey, here's an NES Classic, and hopefully you'll remember our name here in about a couple months when we release the major console. Yeah. You know, because like casual people don't know Nintendo like we would know Nintendo. So if they buy this, they're sitting there playing it at home, and then hey, they see a commercial for the Switch, and they're like, hey, let's check that out. Sort of.
Yeah. Well, a lot of hardcore gamers are pretty nostalgic too. They look at that and go, "Oh man, I remember playing Contra."
Yeah.
I mean, I saw an article that said that it wasn't being sold to hardcore gamers like us. It was being sold to the casual people who played these games back in the 80s.
Exactly.
Well, that's because the hardcore gamers still have them on their Wii.
Yeah.
The hardcore gamers are building retro pies.
I mean, it's not.
Well, that too.
It's not really us that are lining up for these things. It's just the people who had one.
Trust me, it is. Like when I went, when I went and camped out the other night for the NES. Speaking of which, guys, don't forget that I'm giving away a Nintendo NES Classic Edition. All you got to do is subscribe to my YouTube page and my Facebook page. But anyway,
you plug in your own channel on your channel.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, but you guys can definitely win that. So be sure to throw your hat in the ring, so to speak. But when let me just say this: when I went to camp out for that thing, right? I camped out for 8 freaking hours or 7 hours. Everyone that was there were like people our age that were like hardcore gamers that were like just wanting this for their collection and stuff, because they felt like this is the last chance they're ever going to have to get it. So I feel like a lot of the people who did buy it were hardcore gamers, and I feel like a lot of people who, it's probably a good mix. Let's just say that.
I mean, I know a couple people who don't own consoles, haven't owned consoles since they had that as a kid.
Yeah.
So that's like they went nuts for it because it's basically it's their childhood.
Yeah.
And that's a smart move on their part. But someone like me.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, someone like me, I can just go get a freaking Raspberry Pi and
exactly.
So I don't necessarily need to go out and do that.
Well, that's what I was saying too. Like, I mean, I wish I was able to get 2 of them because I wanted one from my collection, right? And then I wanted one to give away, but like first priority for me was to get one to give away. So,
oh crap! You didn't even get one for yourself. I thought you got 2.
No, I only got 1. They were only allowing 1 per person. If I could have got someone to go stand in line with me, then yeah. But
first, he's giving away his only.
Exactly. Trust me, I'm sad, but you know what? You guys deserve it. So subscribe for a chance to win. But
Andrew, you have anything to add to this like cheesy plug fest over here?
No.
But one thing I do want to touch back on, like kind of backtrack a little bit, I guess, is we keep bringing up the fact that Nintendo is releasing these underpowered consoles, and this seems to be a mistake that Nintendo, like I said, I started to say earlier that Nintendo has made since the Wii came out, right? And I think at that point they realized like, hey, we sold the system to like casual gamers, and like we were able to make buku bucks, and one of the best selling consoles of all time, right? So they just gave up on the hardcore gamers. But that I almost sometimes wish like that they would build another console, right, that could compete with PS4 and Xbox One, that like was just as powerful. So that way I could not only play Mario, but play, the latest Call of Duty or whatever. That's what Nintendo, I think, needs. But I think Nintendo, and I think you started to say this, Dakota, was that I think Nintendo has just given up on the hardcore gamers and is just going after diehard Nintendo fans. Now,
you know what I wish? I wish they would just give up on being first party and just go third.
I knew this was going to come at some point. I'm glad you said this. Go ahead.
Because okay, Andrew, you have an Xbox, okay?
Yep.
Imagine getting on that little was it Xbox Marketplace, and then seeing
Xbone.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild available for download for your Xbox.
Yeah.
And tell me you wouldn't necessarily click on that.
I would have to agree that is, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's never going to happen. And the same thing, Microsoft you're never going to see Halo on a PlayStation.
I mean, people said that about Sega, that you
Wow.
never see Sonic on anything else.
That was different though. Sega was like bleeding money and was like, about to go under. Nintendo has money out the wazoo to where they could produce consoles for like decades and probably not even sell them and still keep in the game. Like they have so much more money than Microsoft or PlayStation has in their gaming divisions. Because both of those companies are actually, like in the red, and Nintendo is in the green big time. So,
I mean, they are bending people over with their DLC. I mean, they're statues, they're amiibos.
Yeah, but Nintendo, first and foremost, is a gaming company. Sony and Microsoft are a giant electronics and computer conglomerates that have a gaming division, right? So,
but on that point, though, Microsoft and PlayStation, or Sony, Microsoft and Sony, they actually cater to the gamers.
Yeah.
They have indie games. They have Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. I mean, PlayStation's got their own freaking cable network, PlayStation View now.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't cater to their gamers. Their gamers cater to Nintendo.
I think they cater to a certain small group of people. And that's, their hardcore demographic, but everyone else
But their hardcore demographics want a virtual console.
Yeah.
They released a console without a virtual console.
Yeah. No, well, it's coming though. You know what I mean? Like it's coming. Like I agree with you. I think that Nintendo made some mistakes as far as that, but
what have they been doing the last 10 years? Just like with their fingers in their butts or what?
I think Like I agree with you guys. Like, trust me, there's days where I sometimes because I love my PlayStation. I'm not a big Xbox fan. I have an Xbox and the thing's gathering dust and I've only played it maybe 2 hours. So it's practically brand new still. My PlayStation 4, I used to play all the time. I'm a diehard Sony guy. So I prefer Sony for the most part when it comes to consoles, and they have the best, as far as I'm concerned, aside from Nintendo, have the best first party development studios. So I love my PlayStation. And yes, sometimes I think about the fact that it would be awesome to just play Mario on this and not have to go spend $300 or $400 on a console to just play, Mario first party games. Because let's face it, that's what I get Nintendo consoles for. I'm not there to play third party games. I'm there to play Mario Party. I'm there to play Mario Kart. I'm there to play Zelda or whatever, right? So, but I just wish Nintendo would have a broader appeal and would appeal to more people. And I think they could if they would, try to court the hardcore gamers. But, at the end of the day, Nintendo is going to do Nintendo. And they know that they've got, these franchises that no one else has, that everyone wants. So at the end of the day, I think Nintendo's going to be all right.
I mean, we talk about third-party stuff. They are putting Fire Emblem and Mario on phones now. So
yeah, but it's still a Nintendo product. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
that's a huge step, though.
But it is a huge step.
I never thought they would ever do that.
But the only reason that they're doing that is because they realized that they lost such a huge demographic that typically they could count on to a mobile devices, right? All these casual gamers. So of course they have to court them, because if they lose the casual gamers and the hardcore gamers, they're done for.
They should open a virtual market on the iOS or Android.
Yeah.
I would buy Link of the Past in a heartbeat if I could play it on my phone.
There would be a lot of people that would. If they opened a virtual console on the iOS, holy crap.
Yeah. Look, I am torn on that subject, as far as, Nintendo going third party, right? And just developing for other consoles. Sorry, my mouth's really dry. But, I love Nintendo so much. I mean, they're a huge part of my childhood, right? So there's the nostalgia factor. of Nintendo that is the biggest reason why I come back to, play Mario over and over and over, and play, Mario Kart and whatever over and over and over, because it at the end of the day, it takes me back to being a kid. So one thing I will say about Nintendo though is that it would be sad if they did that, because I feel like Nintendo is the only out of the big, console manufacturers, I feel like Nintendo's the only company that still takes risks, right? Like with Xbox and PS4, yeah, they might come out with a couple of new titles every once in a while, and more powerful hardware every couple of years. But for the most part, it's the same stuff over and over, the same franchises, the same, just a more powerful console. There's no innovation, right? But with Nintendo, there's no other company that innovates like Nintendo. I mean, modern gaming was built on Nintendo's back, like they made console gaming with the Super NES. They introduced, triggers, like, shoulder buttons. They introduced, D-pad. They introduced the analog stick with the N64. So
God, that controller, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but we owe so much to them as far as modern gaming.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, I wonder how many people are getting sick and tired of consistently just seeing Mario all the time on the consoles rather than something else.
That's true.
They don't have third-party support really on the consoles, and that's really hurting them as well.
Well, and I think, what's more important to where you were heading with that statement was that Nintendo doesn't do anything new with their franchises as far as like, it's just more Mario Kart, more Zelda, but they don't really come out with a lot of new like IPs.
Exactly.
So I do agree with you on that note that Nintendo should, be focusing on, if they're gonna just, if they want to rely on their first party studios for these consoles, then they need to really be pumping stuff out, right? To keep, so gamers don't have to wait 6 to 8 months in between games. It's crazy.
I mean, they don't have to pump out a ton of stuff. Just pump out something new that doesn't have Mario's face slapped on it all the time. That's what irritates me about it. I mean, I love Mario, but it gets annoying.
You imagine if they did a war game?
What?
If it was some kind of like a first-person shooter or something.
They did,
like
Splatoon, and it's amazing.
No, but like a Call of Duty or a freaking.
They did. It's called Splatoon, and it's amazing.
No.
Rob likes Splatoon. I don't like Splatoon.
So I'm glad that you went there because I was actually about to mention that. But so Splatoon, right, was the first franchise, like new IP that Nintendo had come out with in a long time. And it came out on the Wii U, and was so underrated. I'm telling you, like, it is one of the best. I had so much fun. Like, I mean, I like shooters and stuff, but this is like a shooter Nintendo style, so it's, very family friendly. And I mean, it's just amazing. Like when oh my God, I spent like months playing that game. And
Robert's gushing over it.
I love Splatoon so much. I love it. It's so good.
Splatoon 2. Sticky.
Yeah. Splatoon 2 is coming out in like July, and I can't wait. Oh my God, it's so good. But it's so fun. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't have to look, I love graphic, like adult, mature, violent games. I mean, but sometimes it's just fun to like play something that's, not so serious, and that's what Splatoon is. I mean, you're running around, you're like these squid people that run around, and they, instead of shooting each other with bullets, they shoot each other with ink. And then you got to like cover the map with as much, of your color. Your team has to cover more of the map than the other team. It's so much fun, man.
But it's basically a multiplayer game.
It's a shooter,
right?
yeah.
But there's no campaign involved. Like you're not trying to.
It did have a campaign, yeah. And it was basically.
It had a campaign.
Yeah, there's like a war between.
Oh my God! It's not an important campaign. It's forgettable.
I'll tell you what. One thing that's really interesting about the campaign for Splatoon is that, Splatoon, if you look at it, is very bright, colorful. It looks very family friendly, but under the surface, the storyline is dark as heck, man. It's like super post-apocalyptic.
Did a giant dragon steal the princess and take her to the wrong castle?
Basically, it's in the future and humanity was wiped out. Like, and so these are like, these beings that evolved in the future. It's really crazy. but it's so dark. Like I think some of Nintendo's titles, if you really look underneath the surface, like on the they're the image that you see is something very like bright, colorful, and family friendly, but beneath the surface, there's this like subtext that's dark. And Splatoon's one of those games, man. But
I mean, Mario's pretty dark. I mean, you're stepping on turtles, for God's sakes. You're kicking turtles clear across the freaking map.
You're murdering turtles.
I mean, God, they're throwing hammers at you.
Mario's really the bad guy. He's just a prick that decides to come up from a bunch of guys.
Those poor reptiles are just hanging out, having a good time. They're having a party. They just wanted some chick to come party with them. She wouldn't come. So they gave her,
he goes
shrooms.
He goes beat up on the Kooplings while they're just trying to protect their dad.
Exactly. I love those like memes that you see like on the internet where like, I don't know, people draw like extremely realistic like images of like Mario just crushing turtles and stuff. It's messed up.
Hey Rob, let me go back to that virtual console for just one quick second. I want to ask Dakota something. Dakota, you say you're a PC gamer, right?
Yeah.
If Nintendo came out tomorrow, said, "Hey, we have a Nintendo emulator. We'll charge you $150 for the emulator and then whatever per game," would you buy that?
No. Probably not. Honestly, no. I'll tell you why. Because you don't need to put an emulator on a PC, for example. Now, I mean, if they're going to do it like that, like where they're doing an emulator where you have to run all your programs through that, no. I want it released like every other game would be released. Put it on Steam, put it on GOG, put it on Origin or something like that. I don't care.
Yeah.
But don't put it through an emulator.
Yeah,
well, you know what I mean. If Nintendo came out with their own little Steam-like program.
Oh, in that case, yeah, probably.
I mean, it wouldn't be like an emulator, yeah.
Yeah, if they did that, probably. I mean, even they could probably even get away with charging, like what Origin does. What is it, the EA Access or whatever? They could even
$30 a year. Yeah,
I think they're already doing that, if I'm not mistaken, with their online. But yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. I'd probably do it, depending on what.
See, I think that's something I could get into. Pay $20 a month or something, and you could play X amount of Nintendo titles, old ones.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah. That the issue with that then would be that, you would eat away so much of their base, by having it on other consoles that Nintendo wouldn't survive very long as a console manufacturer. And like I said, it has its ups, and downs as far as like, yeah, it'd be great to play it on PS4. It'd be convenient because then I could just go to the store, and pick it up on PS4 and not have to spend all this money for an extra console. But like I said, I'm almost afraid that, the downside of that, as I mentioned, would be that we would lose a lot of innovation that Nintendo brings to the table as far as like pushing the industry forward and as far as technology. And I don't
think they are definitely not pushing the industry forward on technology anymore.
Not as far as like graphics and stuff, but I'm saying like over time they've brought so much to the table as far as like innovation. I mean, whether it's how modern controllers are basically built on the backbone of all the NES's earlier, or the Nintendo rather's earlier controllers, and then of course the motion thing was kind of gimmicky, but still like it was something new, and at the time it was really cool, right? And like that would have never happened if it wasn't for Nintendo.
Yeah, but it went right back to what it always has been: a controller and a monitor. That's all gamers want.
True. At the end of the day, that is what I want too. But
I think them being a third party, if they went to third party, they could put more effort into their games rather than these gimmicks.
No, I definitely see the point.
Theoretically, you'd make more money that way because more people would buy that instead of going, oh, hey, now I got to buy it. I ain't going to buy that damn console.
Yeah, like, it does totally make sense. I guess, really at the end of the day, for me, it just boils down to, like, I love Nintendo as a company, and I love their hardware, and I don't want to see them go the way of Sega. But, like, at the end of the day, that's probably, honestly, the best thing for all gamers would be for them to do that. Because then, think about it. And, like Lebo's saying that they, the Wii U, for example. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers. I'd have to look it up, but it sold abysmally, right? Like, I want to say maybe it sold probably 10 to 12 million units, if that. I mean, just a very small user base, right? And there were all these amazing games that came out for the Wii U that never got played by people, including like Splatoon, including like Super Mario 3D World, and a lot of these games that, you know, had they instead of having a Wii U console and released it on PS4 or Xbox, PS3 at the time and Xbox 360, the install base as far as hardware for both of those companies, you're talking like 100 million or more, right?
Just imagine 13.5 million.
Yeah. So imagine them being able to sell that many copies of their games. I mean, that would be a boon for Nintendo. So you're right, Lebo. I mean, that would be amazing for them. But I don't know. I guess it just feel like part of my childhood was dying or something.
I mean, it would. I mean, it kind of did. Like, it'd be the same as Sega, because I always wanted them to do something more than the Sega Dreamcast. I wanted that Sega Dreamcast 2 sort of thing, because that system was really cool.
Yeah.
It may not be the most practical, but it was cool.
Yeah, you're right. It was, because I was a little sad when Sega, like, I was never a huge Sega fan, but like, I was always more of the Nintendo guy. But like, I still was sad when they left, the market and developed third-party stuff, because it seemed like, you lost an old friend and like an enemy even, because back in the day, the good console wars, like, but
I mean, you got Atari, you got Sega. Yeah. I think Nintendo would be perfect fit for third party.
True.
I mean, they're not in any shape going to need to do that anytime soon.
Don't you think though that Sega, since like, okay, let's say let's use that argument that Nintendo would be better because they'd have more time and money to focus on their first party game development or whatever. I mean, their game development. Then why is Sega? Honestly, I can't think of any Sega games that have come out in like since the Dreamcast that I've been really excited about.
I really like. We're talking about Sega as publisher, Sega
as a developer. Yeah.
I mean,
there's not a lot like Sonic. You got your Sonic and all that, but like, I can't think of a lot of stuff that I'm really hyped for. But I don't know. I guess that's a little different. All they really had was Sonic, to be honest. Like, that was Sega's big thing.
And I think once Sonic went 3D, it kind of went to crap anyway. So
that's how I feel about Mario. Oh, that's a whole. I just probably turned off a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of 3D Mario.
I like to.
Yeah, no, they're all right. Mario 64. It's a good game. It's just that like I preferred the old 2D side scrollers personally. And that's why I was saying, like, with the Wii U, the Super Mario 3D World, oh my God, fantastic game. It's the best of like both worlds. It's kind of like the true evolution of like Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World into 3D, as opposed to Mario 64. I feel was like different. It wasn't like a true Mario game, but that's a different topic.
I mean, getting back to the third party, that's personally what I would want. I mean, just picture, let's say you have Smash Brothers on Xbox, and then they put in Master Chief as a character, exclusive. So
yeah, like they did with Soul Calibur. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
oh God, Soul Calibur's good. What?
Soul Calibur had like Link on the GameCube. Yep. Who did it have for PS2?
It had. Was it either a Tech? Was it?
Yeah, it was a Tekken character. Yeah, it was a Tekken character, and then Xbox had Master Chief, right?
No,
it was.
I thought one of them had like Yoda or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Yoda and Darth Vader was one. That was the different Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah,
that was the one after.
But yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, one was Solid Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was PlayStation.
Yeah. I don't know. Xbox might have had.
Yeah, I can't remember. I do remember there being Star Wars characters in that.
They weren't very good, but there were.
Yeah.
But back, like, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like, what happened to all the good games that, like, Nintendo exclusives that were third-party games? Like, Perfect Dark used to be exclusive to Nintendo, and then it went on to Xbox.
Well, what happened was Rare got sold to Microsoft, and interestingly, Rare sucks now.
speak that picture I sent you today.
I didn't see it. What was the picture?
That's off subject, but the picture about we'll get it. I'll digress off that completely.
Okay.
That's probably not a topic for here, but it's related to Rare.
Okay.
But I mean, they don't have a lot of third-party games anymore, and it seemed like developers loved to make games for Nintendo back when it was like GameCube or N64, and I think that they're not being very developer-friendly.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of there was a lot of stuff developed for the Wii, obviously, like third-party support, but it was like shovelware. You know,
exactly.
It was garbage. It was like, just crap to cash in on the success of it. And, but you couldn't get like the full-fledged, I don't know if you remember, but like Call of Duty, the Wii would get the Call of Duty games, but they were like developed specifically for the Wii. So they had downgraded graphics and like, they were basically built from scratch. They were totally different, like, engine, using a totally different engine than the ones on PS4 and, PS3 and Xbox 360, right?
Well, that's because the Wii was so inferior. Yeah,
it was so underpowered. That's why it was my point, was that, like the only reason that had so much third-party support was because it sold so well. But like with the Wii U, it had zero third-party support, and all you got were first-party games.
Yeah, I will challenge you to name a third-party game that was exclusive to those two consoles that was very, very successful, that didn't have Mario, Link, and all that involved.
Oh, yeah, there wasn't really any.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And not to mention that, I want to touch this because we're coming up on time, but I want to touch the fact that Nintendo itself, because this is all things Nintendo, I don't like their business practices when it comes to how they treat
YouTubers,
press, media, and YouTubers. Yeah. And if Andrew has a lot of stuff to say on that one before I get into it, go for it. But
that was just from what I understand, my sources tell me that last night's debacle was because of personnel in Nintendo headquarters.
Yeah, they were last night. This is kind of a side joke, but last night when the podcast didn't work out, we were joking that Nintendo shut us down because they knew that we were going to talk negatively about them.
Nintendo does that though. Like, if you're not affiliated with them,
your mic's making a lot of noise, Dakota.
Is it mine?
Someone's was.
That was mine. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
But yeah,
it sounded like it was underwater.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, Dakota.
Just came over to drown me before I actually say this. But they're so, if you're not an affiliate of Nintendo and you do anything negative on YouTube, like they can take you down. Like they could probably just take our video down if they really wanted to. Yeah. Just on the basis that we're using their name because they're that mean about it.
File that claim. But I think we've been fair. Like
but like if you try to review, I know like other YouTubers,
like Mario Kart sucks.
Yeah, but like they
which
like
is not true, by the way.
Like if you're popular, like I don't know if I can use other YouTubers' names on here, but there's plenty of other popular YouTubers that have gotten videos literally turned like taken down and their channel taken down for a few days.
Wow. Huh.
And it makes no sense. They don't like free marketing and they're just
it's definitely not cool. I do remember, a while back there was a big issue with like Nintendo was pulling like gameplay vids of any other games.
Oh yeah.
Like without because they were wanting to get like a cut of the profit or something, which is ridiculous. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, you bought a copy of the game and you're playing it and recording it. There's no reason that. But I think the reason that they did, look, in their defense, the reason that they probably did that is because nowadays, like I know some people, like friends of mine, who are, were previously big time gamers that don't game much anymore because they don't have time because, obviously they got kids and, whatnot. So they watch YouTube streams of games more than they play. And so, that's one person that's not buying a copy of the game then. You know what I mean?
Me.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people out there that are like that, I do it. I mean, everyone does it.
I get to a certain extent how they might get mad about that. I mean, that's their intellectual property and they don't like it being shown. But at the same time, if I'm sitting there watching a Let's Play and I end up really liking the game, I will go out and get that game because I want to play it. I mean, I like watching the Let's Plays, but I want to do other stuff. Like that's why I ended up buying was it Outlast, the original Outlast, is because I watched a bunch of people playing the Let's Plays, and I was like, that looks freaking amazing.
Yeah, I'm with Dakota on that. I've bought probably 3 or 4 games. Just, I mean, off the top of my head, I bet you I bought 3 or 4 games. Just a 5-minute video going, oh crap, that looks cool.
True. Yeah, no,
it's the new way to rent a game.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that.
With no demos to be seen at all, and demo discs being the way thing of the past. I mean, there are some demos out there, but a lot of games will not put a demo out.
Yeah,
that's how you get to see whether you want to buy that game.
You're right. You guys are right. Yeah, no, and I'm not definitely not taking Nintendo's side on this. I completely disagree with that practice. I was just saying, I was just trying to maybe put a perspective out there how they perceive it, because it does, with gaming companies, a big issue that's eating into their business is obviously online streaming. People are watching it, and then also they've wanted to kill physical copies for a long time because people are buying the game, beating it in a week, and then flipping it for $50 online, and then that takes a sale away from the company, right? So I definitely understand that, but yeah, no, you're right. I'll tell you this, I'm not a big Zelda fan. I like, I don't necessarily have anything against Zelda, but I just never have been really big into it. And, I played the original on NES. And then, of course, I played the one on Super Nintendo.
I mean, I've been telling you to get Zelda for years.
Yeah. But, I kind of have a passing interest in it. It's not one of those things I have to rush out and, when the new Zelda comes out, I got to rush out and get it. But I'll tell you what, I wasn't even going to get a Switch until, I was planning to get one holiday season once they had more games come out. But as soon as I saw gameplay of Breath of the Wild, I fell in love, and I had to have it. And I went out and bought it. And like I said, best game probably ever, other than Super Mario Bros. 3.
I'll be quite honest. I'm a Zelda fan. I played the original. I think I played pretty close to every single one except the one on the 2DS or 3DS or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Is it Link to the no? Link to
Wind Waker.
Oh, Wind Waker.
No, that one was on. That was a Wii game.
GameCube.
Or no, yeah, that's GameCube. Sorry, it was released on Wii U.
Yeah, I never played that one. But anyway, I've played them all. I saw the video and I'm like, yeah, it looks okay.
Really?
If I watch that next to a one with Skyrim,
I
want to play Skyrim.
Huh. You're talking about Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was heavily influenced by Skyrim, though. So.
Yeah. I have gotten
Skyrim's probably one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah. Well, these open world, I have to say, I've been getting really bored of open world games. I just feel like there's a formula to open world games and they all kind of follow it. And they're just, other than, with Rockstar is as far as I'm concerned, the gold standard when it comes to open world games. Right. And of course, they're the ones who kind of created the genre. But, if a Grand Theft Auto comes out or a Red Dead or something, of course I'm going to play it. But for the most part, most of the open world games that have come out in the past few years just all feel the same. And so I got really bored with them, and I've tried to play them, like Mafia and all that. And I'm like, I feel like I played this before. But Breath of the Wild is, to me, the best open world ever created. Honestly, I'll even say, I said Rockstar was the gold standard. It's better than a Rockstar game. It's just, the world is so detailed and there's so much to do. And, you're always wanting to go around the next corner, on this adventure to see what happens next, So, but I will say this, this, I guess, we should probably end this soon, but let me just say this on the last topic about Breath of the Wild, that I know that a lot of Zelda fans are, some Zelda fans are really disappointed in this game because it's so different than the titles of the past. But for me, as someone who's not really big into Zelda, this makes me want to go back and play the older games now because I'm just so enthralled with it,
On that same note, you may be a little bit disappointed though.
Yeah, because it's not going to be like this. Yeah.
Because why I may like Zelda is not the reason why you like Zelda.
Exactly. And that's why some people don't like this new game, is because it's so much different than the games of the past. Like the past Zeldas were more linear, and this is like completely open to do whatever you want.
No, well, see, the original Zelda's like Link to the Past was definitely not linear for the time.
Yeah.
At all.
No, well, the early ones were, like.
But Link to the Past, you still had to go through 1, then 2, then 3, then 4.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, well, I guess.
Like with this game, you can literally start off. Like it starts you off. It shows this like the only cinematic in the whole game where you don't control it, and it shows like him run out to this like cliff edge, right? And then you see this expanse of like wilderness and stuff, and you see like a castle, off to the right side, and then in the distance you see a volcano, and you see like the castle, Hyrule Castle or whatever. I mean, right off the bat, you could go to any of those places. You could run to the freaking volcano, or you could go to the castle and try to fight Ganon right off the bat. But me, I've just had a ton of fun just exploring. Like I barely completed many tasks in the game. Like I'm just running around and seeing what I can find. It's just so much fun. But so yeah, I know the old games aren't quite like that, but I will say this, that I feel, because I played the original game on NES. This, like, I feel like that game was this is like the fruition of like that game. Like this is the game that the creators of Nintendo, when they first built that game back in 1985 or whatever, had imagined what they would want to do with it if they had the technology. Like that's how it seems to me. Because what was cool about Zelda on the NES was that you could kind of go anywhere and just walk around the map and explore, right? And with this game, you can totally go anywhere and do anything. I don't know, it's just amazing. But we totally got off subject of Nintendo to start talking about Zelda. So
still Nintendo, but
yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good point actually to go ahead and stop, But you guys have any final thoughts or comments?
I've liked Nintendo ever since I was, 5 or 6. It kind of fell off for me when I had a couple $100 to spend on a console, and it was tossed up between. Well, I had a choice between the N64 or the Dreamcast, maybe.
No, that was like the next generation. It would have been
whatever the other
Saturn, right?
Yeah. And I went with the N64, and it was okay. I enjoyed the N64, but there was too much crap to it. I had to add this disc thing, and then the HD thing to it, and all this other crap.
Yeah.
And then someone had a PlayStation there in the dorms, and we started playing the PlayStation. I'm like, I got to get one of those. How much for one of those? Oh, these are only like $100.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, so I went and got a PlayStation. And then I got a PS2 when it came out, and then I really never had another Nintendo until I had kids and go, hey, I should probably get a Wii for the kids. They'd like to play ping pong.
Yeah.
By the way, I am a better Wii bowler than a real bowler. But I like Nintendo. I probably won't get a Switch, maybe if the kids beg for one and they ask mom first before I do. So, and the only reason I would ever get a Switch probably would be the Zelda game. And honestly, that'd probably be the only reason. And the virtual console, if they actually do have a virtual console on there. But
it's coming.
Well, Nintendo's made some mistakes business-wise. There's always a plan. So I'm sure they have a plan on what the hell they're doing. Trying to figure it out sometimes is a little difficult. But like I said, they came out in March. So there's a big boost there. They still have December coming around in another 8 months. So, they're going to have another big boost there. Whenever Mario comes out, they'll have another big boost there. I mean, they're going to sell their consoles. They're going to sell them in March. They're going to sell them in December. December too, probably. But honestly, Robert, I think that they held off doing it this Christmas because of the new Xbox Scorpio.
Oh, it could be. Well, I don't think that anyone really knew that it was going to release, though, right? Like,
Yeah, the Scorpio's they've been saying holidays of 17 since they announced it.
Oh, really?
Because the S just came out last year, and I think it was in September maybe.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo kind of went, we could probably get our share of the market in March, probably not December though. But hey, if we release this NES Classic project we got over here, that Joel and Bob have been working on, we could release that thing. We could release this Mario Run on iOS for, in around December.
Yeah.
We could get quite a little bit of that share there. And then, hey, in March, we'll release this thing. We'll have 1, 2, 3, probably 4 months of the market share.
That actually makes me wonder if they already know they're going to be delaying Mario, which is why they have the SNES to come out in holiday season.
Could be. Yeah, I really think that's going to get delayed. Like I said, I'm willing to bet money. I don't see that happening, but we'll see. Is there any last comment about Nintendo in general?
In general, I just wish that they would go more towards beefing up their consoles. They don't even have to beef them up as much as the Scorpio. Just beef them up a little bit. Bring back third-party developers and make it easier for them to make games, so then it's a little more reasonable to buy a Nintendo console. Because why would you spend the money on a Nintendo console and not be able to get as many games that you can get on the other two?
Because I'm a diehard Nintendo fan.
I know.
I don't care what they come out with. If they slap the name Nintendo on, I'm buying it. But I'll say this lastly, that, Nintendo, I love you. You make great consoles. You make awesome games. I do wish that you would, compete with your competitors more and give, take back some of the market share and go back to the good old days when, you dominated the market. Of course, those days I think are gone. But
are you sure you're not a Nintendo affiliate?
Yeah, I know. I love Nintendo. But
you got scared last night.
There's something there's something about, Nintendo that I get this, honestly, I because it was such, like I said earlier, it was such an important part of my childhood. I still get that feeling now. Toys R Us has a section that's just dedicated to Nintendo stuff, and I walk down that aisle and I feel like I'm a 5-year-old again. It's when every time I get a new system, Nintendo system started up, I get that feeling of I remember for my 5th or 6th birthday, I got an NES, and that was the greatest gift that I ever got. And I still get that feeling, and I still get this nostalgia related to everything Nintendo, whether it's a foam football that's shaped like a freaking red Koopa shell, or it's, these new Happy Meal toys that are out or whatever. I mean, anytime I see Mario or see these characters, I just get really nostalgic. So to me, it's worth the money.
And that being said, okay, Andrew, you have kids. Do you think your kids are going to sit there and say that about Nintendo when they're his age?
Yeah.
They will?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. As long as they can keep they can keep that nostalgia factor going, I think they can probably survive for a long time.
Yeah.
Although I would say my generation as a 90s kid wasn't necessarily Nintendo. It was more
it's more PlayStation.
It was more PlayStation. Yeah, I preferred the PlayStation 1 over the N64. So
I was born in 84. Dakota here was born in 91. So, by the time you were 5, that was the early end of the PlayStation 1 era. And for me, when I hit that age, it was NES and SNES,
I was 11.
So
you were 11 when the NES came out.
When Dakota was born.
When Dakota was born.
Yeah. So my whole point there being is, as long as they keep, because they have a really good habit of capturing kids, and it's really marketed towards that. I mean, Happy Meal toys, fucking Mario, excuse my language on that one, but Mario is a very likable character by kids, so that's very recognizable. If they can keep that going, they should be able to survive. It's just they need to do a little bit more than that and innovate, and they need to just be a little more.
Try to pull more of the market in.
Pull more of the market in. Be a little more developer friendly. It's not going to hurt them to allow another company to develop a game for them. And if they make it just a little bit easier, then they'll have a lot more success. It's more money for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Not that they're hurting.
Yeah. Well said, guys. I think we should probably end it there. I personally got to go play some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, but I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I want to thank, Andrew and Dakota, obviously, for being here. I also want to remind you guys that once again, I want to plug the promotion that I'm running. I have a Nintendo NES Classic Edition, which I'm giving away. And in order to win, it's really simple. All you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my Facebook page. You subscribe to both of those. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give that away. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.